Welcome back to another edition of Bardo's Breakdown. I'm your host, Stephen Bardo. Wanted to come on today because we got some news in the Big Ten that will affect Michigan. And so hope you guys doing well. Hope everybody is enjoying May in wherever you are. Chicago, it's a schizophrenic month weather-wise. It can get up to 80, then it can drop down to 40. So, right now, I think so today we're supposed to get close to 70. So I ain't complaining. Hope you guys doing well. Caleb Love decommits from Michigan. Okay. So it's a unusual situation. Well, it's not unusual. Let me backtrack on that. It's not unusual. It's unfortunate because he was one of the top 5 players that was available in the transfer portal, and Michigan was able to secure him, Juwan Howard, who has done a fantastic job of recruiting. But Caleb Love decommits from Michigan, not because he did not want to go to Michigan, but because his academic transfer credits, there's an issue there. I'm not exactly sure, but I know it has something to do with his academic credits transferring from North Carolina to Michigan. Now, we saw this last year. If you guys remember, Terrence Shannon Jr., Illinois was ecstatic to get him, but he was originally going to Michigan. He was going to be a Wolverine. But there was a similar situation where the academic credits may not have transferred, or maybe he didn't have enough in his particular area of study. I'm not exactly sure, but I know it was something very similar to what we're seeing with Caleb Love. And so it's, I pull for Juwan Howard. I've known Juwan since he was a young man here in Chicago. I consider him a friend. I pull for him. I hope he does well. And it's a tough situation because he's had 3 players that were top 25 out of high school decommit from Michigan and go to the G League. Now he's had 2 borderline NBA players who were transfers that were coming in and, all set and ready to go. They make their decision with Michigan. The decision is made, the announcement's made, and then the academic situation comes up. And it's really, let me say this, the thoughts and views that Stephen Bardo is saying on this platform do not represent my broadcast partners whatsoever. So this is strictly me. This is not the broadcast partners that I work with. This is Stephen Bardo talking. I got to say that because, it's a little touch and go, but I need to talk about it because it's something that it's happened twice now. And when you're trying to make a decision as a young man and you're a highly rated player, you're going to be drawn to guys like Juwan Howard. That's the new era in college athletics. You see what Deion Sanders has done at Colorado. Colorado was nothing, but now they are on the map. They're relevant, and it's due to the aura and the work, the body of work, and the brand that Deion Sanders brings. Well, when you look at what Juwan Howard brings, there was a young man by the name of Sports Illustrated Director of Recruiting, Jason Jordan, details why Juwan Howard is a great recruiter. And here's the quote. "Every kid I talk to loves Juwan Howard, or their dad loves Juwan Howard," Jordan explained. "Juwan's a player's coach. Kids talk to him one time, even on the phone, literally one time, and Michigan is on their list. He's done an amazing job since he's gotten to Michigan. You couldn't script a foundation for future recruiting and a reputation, which is everything and even better." So this is a recruiting guy that's with Sports Illustrated. He's breaking down why Juwan is so attractive. He's an attractive choice for these high-level players coming out of high school, these high-level recruits that are looking to move schools. But if you got this academic situation that, one, costs you Terrence Shannon, who ends up at a conference rival, And now, two, you got Caleb Love, who I'm sure North Carolina fans try to put a lot of the blame on the Tar Heels not succeeding last season, but they also had Armando Bacot. They also had R.J. Davis. They also had Leaky Black and Pete Nance, a transfer from Northwestern. They had some other guys on that team that it wasn't all on Caleb Love that they underperformed, right? So this guy, Caleb Love, is looking for a new start. He's an explosive wing scorer. He's one of the better scorers in college basketball. And now you've got egg on your face again if you're Juwan Howard. And I'm wondering, were these things discussed when Juwan got the job? Because here's the deal. Let's go back and look at the predecessor at Michigan before Juwan was John Beilein. Now, John Beilein went and got lesser ranked players nationally and was able to develop them. So he had a different way of building up that Michigan program. He did a fantastic job of it, right? He went overseas and was able to get Mo Wagner. Then he got Tim Hardaway Jr., and then he got Karis LeVert, who got hurt in his, I believe it was his senior year, so his stock went down, but he was a big-time player. He was going to Ohio originally with John Gross, and then Michigan came and got him late. So is John Beilein's system of recruiting lesser-ranked players but bringing them in and developing them, is that a better fit for Michigan? Or is it Juwan Howard and this incredible NBA pedigree and his ability to connect with today's players, but then maybe struggle to get them in school? Now, I wasn't a professor back in 86 through 90 when I was in school, and when we had tremendous battles with the University of Michigan, but I'm not sure all those guys are Rhodes Scholars, if you know what I mean. I'm not sure all those players, from Antoine Joubert to Gary Grant to Terry Mills, Lloyd Vaught, Ramil Rice, Ramil Robinson, Glenn Rice, Mark Hughes, Mike Griffin, Demetrius Caleb. I'm not sure all those guys are Rhodes Scholars. So it's interesting to see that Juwan is having issues getting top-ranked players into Michigan where that didn't seem to be an issue before. So that's a little, I don't quite understand what that is. And here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. We're not talking about transfers. We're just talking about recruiting classes out of high school. Juwan's last 3 recruiting classes have all been top 15 in the nation. So he's done a great job of elevating the brand. The Michigan brand has always been strong. You know, they had their times there when Ellerby was there and Amaker was coach. They dipped a little bit. Beilein got them right back to national prominence, and Juwan Howard has done a good job. Maybe not to Michigan fans, but in terms of the brand, they're considered very, you know, it's a great brand in college basketball. And Juwan Howard is an attractive coach. He's a player's coach. He can develop guys. He's got a great staff. Sadi Washington is going to get a job soon. One of his assistants, I'm surprised he's not a head coach already. He should already be a head coach. He's a hell of a coach. You got Howard Isley on the bench. You've got the dean of Philly, Phil Martelli. So Juwan Howard has one of the best staffs, in my opinion, in the country. And he's shown that he can coach and develop players. He's shown that he can attract players, but this is a bad look. For the second time, you get one of the top transfer targets to commit to coming to Michigan, but you can't get the deal done because of some kind of academic situation. Very, very unfortunate. And I feel for Juwan, and I'm wondering if there are going to be some talks about how this can be rectified. Because if I'm Juwan Howard, I'm pissed. I'm hot. Because every time that something like this happens, the word gets out, and there's a little there's a little chink in the armor. There's a little bit of there's not as much shine on the program. It's a little bit of a black eye, in my opinion, from a perception standpoint of players looking to go different places to play. And so I hope that whoever it is in the administration at Michigan can get with Juwan Howard and figure out a way, because this is not a good look. And I feel bad for the University of Michigan. I feel bad for Caleb Love, because now it's late in the process. He's going to have to go back into the portal. And, I know that Missouri was in on him because he's a St. Louis native. I believe Indiana was looking at him pretty heavily. But again, a lot of these programs have filled out their rosters. So it's going to be interesting to see who's going to make room for this young man and what Michigan does moving forward, because now you take away 17 points a game. First, you lose Hunter Dickinson. Then Jet Howard leaves, which was not a surprise. Then Kobe Buffkin leaves. So you lost your top 3 scorers. Now, Jalen Llewellyn, who was supposed to be the starting point guard last season, I don't know if he got his medical waiver, but it looked very favorable that he'll be able to come back. And then, you've got the other guy, Taurus Reed Jr., Doug McDaniel. I think Baker's gone. But you've had to rehaul the roster, and you were really depending on Namari Burnett, the transfer from Alabama, Trey Jackson, the transfer from Seton Hall, and Caleb Love from North Carolina. That's a potent 3-man rotation, and you can fill in the holes around that and be very competitive. But now you take one of the better 2 guards in the country out of the mix, and now Michigan's kind of scrambling. So we'll see what happens. But yes, yet again, if you're just joining, Caleb Love decommits from Michigan. Don't know exactly where he's going. I think I would lean towards Missouri, because they were in the mix, and he's a St. Louis native. I don't know if Dennis Gates was able to fill out his roster with Mizzou, but I think anybody that could get this young man, they're going to really consider it, because he's a very talented young man. He's a mercurial young fella. He can get a little moody, a little pouty sometimes, but 17 points a game and the way that he can shoot it and get hot, a lot of people will try to deal with that. So let me pay some bills before I get to the questions. All right, hold on. Here we go. Hey, parents, do you have a teenager that loves sports but may not be talented enough to retire you in the next 10 years? Then you should consider getting the Art of Sportscasting ebook. Art of Sportscasting is an introductory ebook into the exciting world of sports broadcasting. Your teenager will learn the importance of presentation skills, how to think quickly on the fly, how to work with teams, and develop their confidence through repetition, and so much more. I've been really blessed to become one of the best sportscasters over the last 25 years. And I want to share my knowledge and experience to help develop the next generation of sportscasters. Once your teenager finishes this insightful ebook, they will surely want to join the Art of Sportscasting monthly community. It's a fun and exciting community that your kids will love. Go to theartofsportscasting.com to find out more. Get your ebook, The Art of Sportscasting, today. Holla, y'all! All right, had to pay some bills. Thank you for being patient. Let me get to the questions. Let's see. TM, what's good? How you doing? Good to see you. What's up, Larry Blackwood? Could the Illini get love now? They could. They could. I don't know if they're, at this point, guys, it's a relationship thing. And so whoever had the best relationships with Caleb Love, when he has to decommit and look for another place, it's rare that someone new is going to come into the mix right in at this juncture. Just my opinion. Whatever those relationships that were intact and he was thinking about going to, more than likely are going to be the favorites. Indiana, Missouri. I didn't read another school that was involved, but Indiana, Missouri could be a destination for this young man based on the previous relationships before he made his decision to go to North Carolina. But anything's possible, Larry, because Brad Underwood's a hell of a recruiter. And he and his staff do a fantastic job of selling the Illini program. So anything's possible. But I would lean against it only because of what I talked about with the relationships. Thanks for tuning in, Larry. Teams seems like University of Michigan isn't putting Juwan in a position to succeed. Now, see, that's what I'm saying, right? It's got to be, and I know there was a love affair because Juwan is a Michigan man. I get it. Was it such a romantic period that this was overlooked? Because TM, I'm right there with you. It's not a. You've got to know that you've got this meteor, this bright light in Juwan Howard that's got all this NBA experience, and like the Sports Illustrated recruiting director talked about, he not only can be attractive to the current day players, he's attractive to all the parents because all the parents know him. So if Michigan wants to get in on a player, if they want to get into the door, they can get into the door with the best of them, with Self, with Calipari, with Pitino. They can get in there because of Juwan, his character, and his resume, his brand, right? So I don't know. I feel bad for Juwan, and it's not a good look for Michigan. It's not moving forward. Can they overcome this? Of course they can. But it's a disturbing trend. It's the second time it's happened in two seasons. The second time it's happened. Courtney Gilmore, I watched the NBA Combine, and this might be mean, but Coleman Hawkins is just not an NBA player. What does he do, good or great? Courtney, I don't think you're not alone. See, what happens is the NBA looks at they look at a lot of potential. They look at prototypes. They look at specific skill sets. Coleman, with his size, with his ability to shoot the basketball, with his ability to put it on the deck, and his versatility, make NBA scouts salivate just because of all the potential. But we've seen players with potential before, and they can't put it together mentally. To me, Coleman Hawkins is mentally, he gets so keyed up. He wants to win so badly. He wants to do well so badly. I think he wants to dispel rumors that he can't do this or he can't do that. So sometimes on the court, you'll see him he'll make premeditated moves, and that's when he gets in trouble because he's trying to be Magic Johnson. He looks like Tragic Johnson sometimes. Seriously. You can see it. I can see it. When I'm calling games, I'm like, this is going to be an apple turnover. I can see it because he gets premeditated and he's not playing. He's trying to project what he can do to disprove some things that people have said instead of, and this is something that we all did as players. We got labeled a certain way. I know I did. I spent 10 years of professional basketball. Once I got professional basketball, I got away from what people said I couldn't do. I just stuck to what I could do because I was getting paid. And if Coleman would concentrate on playing the game as it's presented to him, not being premeditated, not trying to think about, okay, I'm going to do this, because defenses shift so quickly. You've got to play the game as it's presented to you. When you catch, what are you seeing? You seeing the defender back off, shoot the jumper. If the defender's crowding you and you glance and you can get by your defender and you've got some daylight, go by him. Coleman, I think, gets caught up a lot of times. And so that's probably what you're seeing. He's probably in his head and not playing the game that's presented to him. And I think that's where he's getting in trouble. So, no, you're not being mean. You know, Courtney, this is the difference. When you leave the college, well, and now the college level is that now because these guys are getting paid. Once you get paid to do something, the level of criticism can go up. Now, if you're an amateur, what we used to be called amateurs, even though we were making millions for the program, when you were an amateur, then the media and people didn't like just go at you like they do pro athletes. So you're not being mean, love. That's you. You're entitled to that opinion. Thanks for tuning in. Linnea Jones, seems like Michigan having a tough time last year, losing Cassie G League, and then love credit issues. So I'm no expert. So why hasn't more 5-stars come? Well, I mean, Linnea, there were 3 G League players. They were all top 25. Then there was another kid that committed. And I got to go back and make sure. I got to go back and check this. But I thought there was another player that committed from overseas, but then he went back overseas to play professionally. So Juwan has really attracted 5-star players. He's attracted great players. And I mean, now, with what Hunter Dickinson said about the NIL at Michigan, God, it was a bad look. And so if Michigan can't be competitive from an NIL standpoint, and yet you're trying to attract these 5-star players, that's a rift. That's not congruent, right? So it's not that he can't get more 5-stars to come. It's keeping them there. He can get them to sign and commit. It's just, somebody might come with a bag. Hunter felt like he played as much as he could at Michigan. He wanted another opportunity. And I don't necessarily blame Hunter, because here's the deal, Linnea. Hunter Dickinson is probably going to make as much money in college as he'll make professionally. I don't see Hunter as an NBA player. Does that mean he can't have a career overseas or professionally? Of course he can. But those numbers drop precipitously. Once you stop talking about the NBA, you start talking about overseas. If you're making 6 figures in college, you're getting close in that range of what you can make overseas. So I don't blame Hunter for that. If he wasn't getting what he thought his market value was at Michigan, now he goes to Kansas, he will certainly get it at Kansas. So I don't think it's an issue of can he attract 5-stars. I think it's more of an issue of somebody coming with a bag, or the Michigan administration maybe not being on the same page, or maybe seeing something in a deeper dive on these transcripts that say, oh, you know what? We can't do this. Whatever it is, it needs to be rectified, because this is a bad look for Juwan Howard in Michigan. Thanks, Linnea. This is the second time that this has happened. Yes, it is. First time was Terrence Shannon Jr. last year. Say in the last 4 or 5 weeks. Was a barbershop yesterday talking Big Ten. The guy in the shop says Big Ten has good players, but compared to Big 12, ACC, and SEC on a level of talent overall, do you agree? And I thought I asked Mr. Big Ten, Jaron Jackson Jr. comes to mind with the last 5. Sorry for the long. No, it's all good. Hoop Baller Scoop. I'm glad you tuned in. You got to look at wing player from Michigan State. He's at Charlotte and just got in trouble. Messed up his bag. Lefty, athletic. Miles. Why can't I remember this kid's name? From Michigan State, guys, help me out. Miles was having an outstanding season as a Big Ten player. But think about this now, Hoop Baller Scoop. Jay Nivey. What is this kid from? The kid from Ohio State that got drafted by the Spurs in the first round. He should have come back to school. He wasn't ready. Who else has had? Franz Wagner's balling for the Orlando Magic. Franz Wagner, I believe, was 14 points a game, 6 rebounds, and like 3 assists this year. He's balling. So there have been some Big Ten guys that have gone. Keegan Murray. Keegan Murray was up for Rookie of the Year in the NBA. He had an outstanding season with Sacramento Kings. So the Big Ten is in the last 4 or 5 years have had impact players that have left the Big Ten and gone on to do some pretty good things. Have they been superstars? No, but I would argue that have there been any superstars from the Big 12, ACC, and SEC that just came on the scene and just, are NBA All-Stars in their first 3 or 4 seasons? I mean, if it is, let me know. I'm racking my brain right now. Christian Braun from Kansas is playing well with Denver. But he's kind of a rotation guy. SEC, Alabama, Arkansas. Arkansas has had some guys. But you see what I'm saying? If they don't jump out at me, I think the Big Ten is doing as well, especially in the last 3 years with the guys that have been drafted, the early draft entrants, and all these guys. So yeah, I'm going. It's a great question because I'm racking my brain to try to figure out where these guys are. But thank you, Hoop Baller Scoop. Yes, the book is only available electronically. If you would like, I can see. I don't know how it did. I could. Yeah, it's only electronically right now. But thanks for asking. If you have any questions, please DM me. Sorry, that's supposed to say I feel like the transfer portal that every year now have to you do. You have to re-recruit guys. That's part of the deal. That's why these coaches get paid multi-million dollars a year. Is it easy? No, it's not easy, but that's what it is. To get that bag, you have to re-recruit your players. And this is the reaction or the response to the NCAA sitting on their behind for decades, knowing that there needed to be changes made, but they just sat back and didn't do anything. And now this is the result of it. It snaps back maybe too far. I'm not gonna disagree with that. But it's benefiting the players, so I'm good with it. Michigan State great Todd Wolf. What's up, Todd? Hold on. Is it wrong that it makes me happy whenever Michigan has setbacks? No, Todd. You are a true Big Ten former athlete. You are a true Big Ten athlete. You sound like Coleman Hawkins, where he says, "Man, I don't understand how these guys are transferring in conference. I could never play for a conference opponent." That's how you sound. So, no, Todd. Spoken like a true smart. I love it. Thanks for tuning in, Todd. I appreciate it, man. My concern is Michigan may make Juwan the fall guy if these players continue to decommit. Well, TM, here's what I thought. I'm just going to kick it real. If the NBA throws anything Juwan Howard's way, he might be gone. That's just my thought on it. If think about the frustration that Juwan has encountered since he's been coaching there in terms of the recruiting and getting guys to stay, not getting to attract them, but get them to stay. Remember the G League guys. Remember the kid that was an overseas player that decided to go back and play overseas because I don't know if he, I don't know what the money looked like. I don't know. Was this before the NIL? I can't remember. But he's had a number of players in this scenario that for whatever reason, whether it was academics, whether it was a bag, but it's not like it's not necessarily his fault, is what I'm saying. He's doing his part, right? And I don't know. It just so I don't know that Michigan will even have the time to make Juwan the fall guy. He may find another opportunity to get the heck up out of there. Because right now, if things don't change, then we may see this situation moving forward. I don't know, but this has got to frustrate Juwan. I know, so I don't know if the TM they'll make him the fall guy. He may not be there long enough to make him the fall guy. Tony Weisinger is the head coach at Illinois Central College in Peoria. It's a Division II community college, and he's doing very, very well. What's up, Curtis Dietz? Thanks, my man. What's up, Ron Charles? Bardo, the NBA Combine's been on ESPN2 yesterday and today, 4 p.m. Is Hogarth and Atkins at the event? Maybe they will be in the scrimmages today. Hold on. Let me look that up, Ron, while we're sitting on here. I was going to guess, but let me go on here because I can look up the draft invites. 223 NBA Draft combine invitees. Let's see. All right. I'm gonna rip off the names of the guys that are in the Big Ten, and we're gonna include UCLA and USC. So Amari Bailey from UCLA, the left-hander that's outstanding from Chicago. He's originally from Chicago, but he's out there now. Adem Bona is the freshman big for UCLA. They got hurt at the end of the season, but he's a really active kid. Kobe Buffkin, Michigan. Jalen Clark, one of the best defenders, on-ball defenders in college basketball from UCLA. He's in there. Zach Edey from Purdue. Coleman Hawkins, Illinois. Jalen Hood-Schifino, Indiana. Jet Howard, Michigan. Trace Jackson Davis, Indiana. Jaime Jaquez Jr., UCLA, who I love, one of my favorite players. Seth Lundy, Penn State. Chris Murray, Iowa. I actually saw Chris this morning at East Bank Club walking out. He was working out. He didn't see me, but I saw him in there getting it in. So he's there. Brandon Podziemski. Now, Illinois fans remember this name. Brandon Podziemski was balling at Santa Clara this year. He's in the NBA draft combine. He couldn't get off the bench for Illinois 2 seasons ago. Remember the recruit coming out of Wisconsin? He's a baller. He's there. Brent Sensenbaugh, Ohio State. Terrence Shannon Jr., Illinois. Invitees from the G League Elite Camp. So there were 8 players that were in the G League camp that did so well that got invited to the regular camp, and not one of them was from the Big Ten. So the guys I ran off, those are the Big Ten invitees. So Jaden Akins and AJ Hogarth are not invited. But thank you, Ron. Why are players leaving Michigan? I know Hunter Dickinson left for a financial decision to go to Kansas. My question is that what Kansas give Hunter that Michigan couldn't? If you read that article, Facebook user, did you hear what Hunter Dickinson said about the NIL situation? So Kansas is going to give him far more than he said he received from Michigan. Now, Hunter Dickinson was doing a lot of different things. He was a pitch man. I believe he had 3 or 4 different companies that he was working with, and he's a terrible pitch man. I love Hunter, but this is my microwave. It has these types of functions. He sounded like Arnold Schwarzenegger in those sci-fi movies. That's who he sounded like. So he got money from certain companies that he partnered with. But the NIL bag for Michigan was not comparable, according to Hunter, to what he can receive elsewhere. And that was one of the reasons why he left. So you would think Michigan certainly has the ability to match what Kansas can bring, but will they? And herein lies the dilemma that what we're talking about. What's up, JYD Brent? Yes. And you know what, JYD, I think that Trace Jackson Davis's jumper will come along a lot better. The college game is so cluttered, and you don't have a lot of spacing. So you're not able to see what he can do, right? I don't ever think that he's going to shoot an NBA 3 consistently. But can he keep people honest with a 15 to 17-foot jumper? Of course he can. But he's a high level he is an above average NBA athlete, in my opinion. Not elite, but he's above average and below elite. He's above average NBA athlete. He's going to be able to do some things based on his athleticism, speed, and how hard he plays. So, yes, his game will translate to the next level. And I think that you'll see that jump shot really improve from that 15, 17-foot range because he's going to have a lot of time to work on it. He doesn't have to go to class. He can get with these high-level skill development coaches and really work on that. And the young man works his tail off. So, yes, I do think that it will translate. What's up, Brandon Chambers? Good to see you. I keep hearing that Glenn Big Dog was over the last 30 years one of the best players ever in the Big Ten. I respect your voice. How special was Big Dog? Brandon, Big Dog, I'm trying to think. There may not be 5 better scorers to ever play the game than Glenn Big Dog Robinson. I'm telling you. In terms of scoring the basketball, there might be. Okay, let's break it down like this, Brandon. From the wing position, not centers, not power forwards. We're going to talk about wing positions, right? I'm going back in my Rolodex, and maybe you got Bernard King, you got Michael Jordan, maybe Alex English, Carmelo Anthony, Kevin. I'll say Kevin Durant is a wing. I'll put Kevin Durant in there. Glenn Big Dog Robinson is in that conversation. It may be hard to believe, and people may be looking at me like, "What the hell is Bardo talking about?" Dude, I'm telling you guys. Big Dog went to Milwaukee when Milwaukee wasn't very good, so he was in a smaller market. But if you go, let's look up his let's look up Big Dog's career numbers real quick and see when Big Dog Robinson career NBA scoring numbers, scoring stats. Okay. So Glenn Big Dog Robinson finished with 14,234 career points. He averaged 20 points a game, 6 rebounds, and almost 3 assists, and 1.2 steals per game while playing in 2 All-Star games. Big Dog was that dude. He's one of the best scorers ever played basketball on any level. Dude could score in a phone booth. Like, to me, he was more like Carmelo Anthony than anybody. Because if you remember, Big Dog, he had, like, from the middle of his thighs to his rib cage, he was really solid, like real strong. And he had a little bit more weight than his upper body looked like. So he could hit you, he'd get you off balance. If he's straight line driving, you can't move him off his path. Big Dog was that dude, man. I'm telling you. I'll say he's a top 10 scorer ever in the game of basketball from a wing position. I haven't seen many do it better than him. Post up, 3-point shot, off the bounce, pull up, offensive rebound, hit cats off the bounce. I mean, this dude could do it. So that's how highly I think of Big Dog. Great question. Miles Bridges. Thank you, Shane Spaghettis. Miles Bridges was having an outstanding year till he got into that domestic violence situation and really messed up his bag. He was looking at about $200 million. I don't know what is going to happen now. It's going to be interesting to see how, because Jordan, I believe Jordan is selling his ownership shares. So whoever comes in, it'll be interesting to see how they're going to proceed with that. But Miles Bridges was one of those guys in the Big Ten that have come out in the last 4 or 5 years and done very, very well at that level. Thank you, guys. Let's see. What's up, Captain Fletcher? Michigan will always have a gray area over their heads until they own up to treating the whole Fab Five for a mistake. One player did. Okay. So, Captain, you still think that they need to acknowledge the Fab Five and put those banners back up? I thought Jalen. I tipped my hat to Jalen Rose. I think he's class act. He's come back. He's encouraged Chris Webber to come back, and they can pose it as supporting Juwan Howard, which it is. but it's also a bigger issue. It's not an issue. It's a bigger win for the university to have those guys back involved. Jalen's at football games and at basketball games. Chris Webber now has been at basketball games, and it's a unifying situation. So big ups to Jalen Rose, big ups to Juwan Howard, and big ups to Chris Webber for making it okay again for those guys to come back on campus. Now, I haven't seen my man Ray Jackson back. That's my guy. I know Ray maybe better than I know the rest of those guys, but I've seen Jimmy come back. Jimmy's been back, but I haven't seen Ray back. So we'll see how that works out, Captain. But I thought they were, maybe they need the banners up, but I thought they were doing a pretty good job of trying to welcome those guys back. Curtis Deese makes a good point. 5-star players are overrated at times. And the national champions, well, let's look at the Final Four. UConn has had some pros on that team. Hawkins, Sanogo. I don't think he'll play in the NBA, but he'll have a long career playing professionally. Clean, the 7'2" kid that comes off the bench, he's going to play professionally. Jackson, the do-it-all wing player for them, I think is a pro. But I'm not sure any of those guys were like McDonald's All-Americans. The San Diego State team, I'm not sure that any of those guys are McDonald's All-Americans. I know the guys at Florida Atlantic. There weren't any McDonald's All-Americans. So Curtis makes a great point. Keegan Murray played great. Yep, I referenced Keegan. So I thought when Ojel was trying to leave, was he trying to go to Michigan or was he trying to go to Michigan State? I thought he was. I got to go back and research that, but that's a good name to bring up. Nojel Eastern, because he was trying to move a little bit as well, and I'm not sure what happened there. He must be talking about all the all-star type level, but I think it's been players that's steady. Everyone can't be all-stars. Keegan Murray's legit. Ivy's been solid. Trandis Johnson makes a great point. The Big Ten has had their fair share of players that are coming to the NBA and had a really, really good impact on that. Yeah, Maxi's been a baller. Now he's come in and done his thing. Good call on that. Pooh, I got to go back and check that date. Hoggard and Akins are not. They're not in the pre-draft. They're not in the combine. Zach Edey is in the combine, but Hoggard and Akins are not. Do we get an experienced PGA? Okay, I think this is somebody talking about from Illinois. Ray J. Dennis is still out there. He is a highly coveted point guard. MAC Player of the Year, and Illinois seemed to be the favorite, but it's gone quiet on that front. So if he comes into the fold, Illinois would be in a really good mix. Malachi Branham is the young man that I was thinking about. JYD is on it. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Malachi Branham is a guy, yes, that left too early, in my opinion. Anyway, because then the transfer portal closed last week. So what does it mean for Caleb Love? Does he have to sit out a year or does he return to North Carolina? Now, see, that's interesting because I saw somebody where they said he's going to go back into the portal, but how do you go back into the portal when it's closed? So you got a good question there, and I need to do a little bit more research, or we just need to see how this shakes out because I'm not sure that is. It's probably clear, but I don't have all the information on that yet. But very good question there. Why is that jumping like that? Come on now. Let's see. That's supposed to say transfer. Yep. No, I got you. Did Indiana just get a player that decommitted to Duke? Yes. I think Mike Woodson going to be a problem for years to come. Tanya Boo Evans. I agree, Tanya. What is that kid's name? And he was a big time recruit. And Duke player decommits. Let's see. Mackenzie, oh boy. Mbako is the best way I can. Mackenzie Mbako, 5-star power forward out of New Jersey that had committed to Duke in April. He chose Duke over Kentucky, Memphis, and Ohio State. So the fact that he originally chose Duke over Kentucky, Memphis, and Ohio State, and he ends up in Indiana, ought to let you know that Mike Woodson is doing his thing in Bloomington, baby. Good call, Tanya. Thanks for tuning in. Big Dog dropped 50 on everybody, Curtis. It may have been, but he was a tremendous scorer. Brandon Chambers brought a blast from the past. People don't remember. I believe Calbert Chaney and Jimmy Jackson were in the Big Ten at the same time. They were. And Calbert Chaney I think he's still the leading scorer in Big Ten history. And Jimmy Jackson was a dog. Woo! 2-time All-American. I believe he's 2-time Player of the Year in the Big Ten. Those two guys could get it, but they couldn't score like Big Dog. Yeah, Jimmy was playing in Quad City. I don't know what he's doing now. We talk about teams getting 5 stars, right? Is it harder to coach 3 or 4-star players than maybe a team full of 3 or 4? Well, yeah, it's got to be a mix. I don't know that, Calipari's been able to do it in years past. Bill Self's been able to do it in years past. Mike Krzyzewski. It's tough. You got to be a special player manager and a manager of emotions, a manager of expectations, and to be very specific and clear on players' roles. Those are the aspects to me that make those types of situations work properly. So that's a great question. I think a mix, maybe a 5-star here and there, and then some 3 and 4 stars, I think is a better mix, because you want to have a guy, you want to have a player, you want to have a Jimmy Butler dude that you can count on. And sometimes those 5-star players, they can go get it, right? So, all right. Looks like we got through all the questions, but I wanted to come on here because, we like to give you guys some breaking news, and it happened last night. Caleb Love decommits from Michigan. We talked about the reasons that academic transfer credits are cited as the issue, and the fact that this is the second time that this has happened in 2 consecutive seasons, because Terrence Shannon Jr. was originally going to Michigan, and they had an academic issue where he wasn't able to go. I think Juwan has done a fantastic job, not only with his high school recruits, but also the transfers that he's attempted to bring in. He's been handcuffed by the bag with the G League kids, and then now the academic situations with the transfers. So I think he's done a fantastic job, and it's just unfortunate because John Beilein, in my opinion, was able to get his style. He couldn't go get the players that Juwan Howard could get. He couldn't. I don't know whether, John Beilein didn't play in the NBA. And he's one of the best coaches in all of basketball, regardless of the level. The dude X's and O's, and his vocabulary and the way that he deals with his players is fantastic. He's one of the best to do it. But he was not able to attract the type of the player that had the rankings that Juwan is. So it's going to be interesting to see how Michigan tries to overcome this issue, because this is a major issue and it's not a good look for Michigan. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching. You guys, what I am doing right now, I'm getting people to understand that if you're on the Bardo's Breakdown page, it's going to be short-lived, because Facebook is doing some things that kind of handicap us as content creators. And so I encourage you guys, because I'm moving I'm starting to I've been saying this, and you're gonna see one day I'm not gonna be here. I'm only gonna be putting up highlights on the Bardo's Breakdown page. So I'd encourage you to join the text group 312-847-2739, or you can join the email list. And so what I'm doing on the email list and on the tribe, I'm letting out my top 5 all-time teams for each program in the Big Ten. I'm doing that currently. I did UCLA today. Done 3. I've done Michigan, Purdue, and UCLA. You guys want to be a part of that? Join via the text, the tribe, 312-847-2739, or join the email list, stephenbardo.com/college-basketball-newsletter. Or you can join Bardo's Breakdown group. It's a public group. We've got about 2,100 rabid Big Ten fans in there, and I'm starting to really get a lot more involved in that because, again, the page, although I've got a lot more people on the page, hardly anybody sees my stuff based on the way that Facebook does it. So I'm going to go where I can be most successful. That's the email list. That's the text situation, and also Bardo's Breakdown group. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining. I appreciate you tuning in, and check back to Bardo's Breakdown for more breaking news on Big Ten basketball. I'm your man, Stephen Bardo. Until next time, holla, y'all.